Hey, Jamie Tay here, founder of PT Biz, and today we're going to talk about the $100,000 per year clinical formula. One of the primary goals that clinicians have when they go out on their own and start a clinic for themselves is to be able to break the $100,000 per year income threshold. Now, this is something that you can definitely make $100,000 a year or more working in a traditional setting. Oftentimes you can do this in settings that people don't really want to work in as much. So think home health, PRN, skilled nursing facilities, things of that nature, more acute care. And I'm not saying everybody doesn't want to work there, but a lot of people didn't go to school to do that. They wanted to work with sports orthopedic. That's probably the biggest subset of our profession, and it's who we help the most as far as establishing clinics. So in order to be able to generate that kind of income in that setting, usually you have to be a clinic director of some sort. It's kind of hard to do that in a staff role. And obviously this is very dependent on your location and cost of living, because that can go a lot further certain places than others. But that is a common goal for a lot of people, to have a net take home of $100,000 per year as if it was a salary. So I'm going to go through exactly what that looks like, what the typical overhead is. This would be in a sort of subleased, non-standalone space. So think subleased space where you're renting out of another clinician's office, a gym maybe, something to that effect, and keeping your overhead really low. So we consider these lifestyle businesses, and honestly, everybody for the most part starts with one of these, starts with a lifestyle business, and then they can decide to springboard that into whatever it is that they decide they want to do. So if we look at the formula to get to $100,000 income, basically, and this is going to be before taxes, just like your salary is before taxes. If you're getting paid by your employer, like your taxes are what they are after the after you pay, and it depends on your family's income and a number of other factors. But this is going to be $100,000 before you pay taxes personally. With a business, we have overhead though, right? So this isn't, we need to make $100,000 in the business. We actually need to make a good bit more than that in order to be able to meet the overhead that we're going to have for running a business in a facility, right? So let's talk about some of the overhead factors that you're going to have, right? Some of the things you're going to have to pay for every single month. So what we're seeing across the board is sublease spaces are becoming more expensive. So whenever I got my first sublease space, it was like $400 a month. And it was actually really common for people to be in that range for quite a while. It's getting more expensive now. I mean, I actually had somebody that reached out to me about a sublease space that they had looked at that was like $3,000 a month. And I was kind of shocked. Honestly, that's very high. The average that we're seeing for a lot of people is going to be somewhere between $750 and $2,000 a month. A lot of it just depends on your area more than anything else. So if you're in a really, affluent spot, doesn't have a lot of rental space available for commercial spaces, you're going to be on the higher end of that. If you're in a space or an area that has a lot more availability, maybe it's a lot more warehouse style buildings, you're probably going to be able to find space for cheaper, right? And maybe it's in a cheaper facility, like more of a stripped down gym, like a CrossFit gym, versus if you're in a really sort of boutique high end, maybe health and wellness facility, you're probably going to pay more, but there's pros and cons to both of those. So let's just assume that you're going to have to pay $1,500 a month. And the nice thing with sublease spaces is you don't really have to account for anything else. Like they're paying for utilities, all that. This is just sort of like a lump sum every single month. The next thing is your tech stack, right? So your tech stack is your EMR. You probably have some sort of email system like a Gmail or a Google Suite. It's not going to cost you a ton, but it is something that gets added into that. Maybe you have some sort of programming software, maybe using some sort of AI tools. Maybe you have some sort of communication tools with your patient. I'm going to assume that you have about $300 worth of a tech stack every single month, which you can go way above that as you grow and you get more complexity with it. But you can be pretty safe to say $300 a month. Like that's a decent tech stack for a clinic that's a smaller clinic, and puts you in a really good spot to leverage your time, because that's the goal, right? I want to use tools that are going to get me my time back. Because if I can make $185 an hour seeing a patient or something like that, and I can pay $20 to get some of that time back, like I'm totally doing that. So think of it around $300. Bookkeeping, this is something that I kind of lump this into like bookkeeping and even getting your taxes done. It should be like relatively inexpensive. It's just you. Bookkeeping you might be able to do on your own, but your CPA, whoever's going to do your tax return, I'm just assuming around $200 a month. You're going to add that up. You're probably going to pay more during tax season as they file for you, but spread out throughout the year. Let's call it $200. Insurance for your business, going to be about $200 if it's just you. Health insurance for yourself, again, if it's just you, probably around $500. Depends on what kind of insurance you're going to get. You can do some of these like health share plans that aren't really insurance that are way cheaper. You can do traditional insurance, which is probably going to be closer to $500, but let's just assume that. Let's say you have about $200 a month that you're putting towards continuing education. So going to different courses and things of that nature. And then equipment. So $200 a month that you're spending towards equipment, whatever you're using in the office or towards some purchases that maybe are a little more expensive occasionally throughout the year. We're just going to use that as a spread out payment, right? So that brings us to $2,800 a month. Or you could look at it annually. It's going to be $33,600 per year. And that's kind of what we need to know if we're going to try to back into how do we net $100,000 pre-tax. So in order to do that, that means that we need to make $133,600 because our overhead is $33,600 per year. So in order for us to do that and have that $100,000 left over, that means that we have to figure out how many visits that's going to be and back into that so you can feel pretty confident you're going to be able to do that. Now, I'm going to use $185 as your average per session. Most people that we work with when we first start working with them, are actually a little bit lower than this. And they start to bump themselves up to somewhere around this range. But once we've worked with some folks for 6 to 12 months, maybe even 2 years, like oftentimes they're well above $200 an hour. And again, this depends on your area. So it's kind of location dependent, but we're just going to use 185 as a decent estimate of kind of where you should be. So if you're charging $185 and you need to make $133,600 per year, that means you need to see 722 visits in the year. And that equates to basically 60 visits a month. And if you want to break that up weekly, you're talking roughly 15 visits a week. And now this is the appeal to a lot of people is if you really look at the numbers on this, right? So let's say we have 15 visits a week and we've broken it down to that. 15 visits a week equals $100,000 income, let's call it. This is the appeal for people and why you're seeing so many people go the direction of starting these clinics, because that's 15 visits a week at a relatively low to moderate average visit rate. Let's say you bump that up to 200. Now all of a sudden your take home is a good bit over $100,000 per year because the overhead doesn't change. You're just changing your input. You're changing your what you're charging people. You're changing how much money is coming into the business, but the fixed costs don't change because of that. So when we look at how much money people can make doing this, getting to $100,000 is very achievable, and you don't have to see a lot of volume for that. This is why we see people that maybe want to have more of a lifestyle business. They want to treat patients 2-3 days a week, go this direction because these numbers can hold true for them. They can keep their overhead really low and just maintain a lifestyle business. Or you can grow past yourself, and we see plenty of clinicians individually be able to generate $20,000 plus a month in their own clinic before they go on and maybe hire and bring on other people. The most that I've ever seen is someone averaging roughly like $35,000 a month. And this is in a very sort of more affluent city, big city, high average visit rate, also higher costs. So their total amount that they had to pay per month is obviously higher than their fixed cost, but we're able to make up, it's a big difference in terms of how much they were able to keep because they did such a good job of really charging what they're worth. So these are the keys. Like you have to keep your overhead low and you have to keep your average visit rate up. And if you can do those things, $100,000 is really just like, that is checking the box. That's the beginning of a lot of this for folks. And sadly, I wish you didn't have to look at things like this to be able to work as a physical therapist. Many of us do not want to. I didn't want to. I didn't want to start a business. But as I looked at places I could work when I got out of the military, it was like, what option did I have? I just couldn't make what I wanted to make and have the ability to have time freedom with traveling because I was teaching at the time for the Ready State. And that was really important to me. So I couldn't find that. For some of you, maybe it's really important that you want to be able to have a better work-life balance, or maybe you just want to really be involved in your family and your kids' lives. And you want to make sure you have a day off every single week to be able to focus on that, right? And that's something you can do because you can construct your schedule the way that you want. So it's not just income, it's also income you can get there while also maintaining flexibility in how you set up your week. So this is the appeal for a lot of folks. And if you really look at the numbers and you back into the math of it, you don't have to see that many people per week, per month, per year, that many sessions, I should say, because it's not like you're seeing 15 new people every single week. You might only be seeing 5 to 10 new people a month, and then they're working with you to solve a problem, obviously. So, you don't have to see a lot of people. You don't have to take massive debt out. So, I get it, right? There's a reason why we've been talking about this for a long time. It's a reason why I did it. It's a reason why literally thousands of clinicians have already done this. And thousands more are going to do it, over the next couple of years. And who knows how many over the next decade. It's going to be a lot. So I hope this helps you get clear on kind of the math of what that looks like. If you think that number is, impossible for these types of clinics, it's very possible. It's actually, honestly, I think it's like just honestly the start for a lot of people, but it's very achievable if that's all that you want to do. And it really helps, I think, to get clear on what the numbers look like and what you need to do. Because, when you step back and you say, oh, wow, 15 visits a week, like that's not too bad, right? Now, getting those people and the sales and marketing around, these are all the hard things. These are things we have to, really step in and help people with on a day-to-day basis, because you didn't learn these things in school. I didn't learn these things in school. I had to learn a lot of this stuff the hard, slow way, and it sucked, right? And now for us, we get a chance to help people take their great clinical skill set, add on proven sales, marketing, show them systems, help them implement those things, help them build a business that's actually like not crazy and stressful and is systemized and it runs well and gives you an opportunity to then springboard into whatever it is that you want to do after that. So if you're looking for some help actually getting to this place and getting started, head to physicaltherapybiz.com. Check out what we have. We have some programs that are specifically for people just starting and some for people that are looking to scale their business. And we'd love to have a conversation with you about where you're at and see if we can help you. And if not, then we'd love to refer you to the right person who possibly can. So as always, thanks so much for watching and listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.